Welcome to Detecting Intelligence, the only show that treats AI like a crime scene. We bag the evidence, dust the hype for fingerprints, and interrogate the breakthroughs. Then we ask the only question that matters. Are we closer to AGI? Let's find out. Here are your hosts, Frank and Ronnie.
Morning, Ronnie. How are you doing today?
GM, sir, GM Frank. I'm doing all right, man. How are you doing today on this fine Tuesday morning, March 10th?
Yeah, doing great. Sun is shining. It's a good start to the day. Yeah, things are good.
Sun is shining, indeed. Yeah, no, it's been very. Here we go about the weather. It's been very interesting, and I'm only going to say this because I saw a post from a friend of mine, and I don't know how accurate it is, but he said in the last couple of weeks there's been roughly a 90 degree swing in temperature, at least here in New York, something like that. So that sounded too crazy to be true, but no, I mean, we did go from like almost literally like extreme cold to I was sweating outside yesterday in a matter of a couple of weeks.
It's wild. Yeah. And as you said, not to get like too focused on our temperatures here, but it was the same in Kingston. Actually, we were at 57 Fahrenheit yesterday. So pretty warm for our parts.
Yeah, and this is and it's things like that remind me. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, yeah, forget that we're just on a planet like all the other ones. You see all the other planets like on Venus, Mars, Uranus, the 1,000-year storms that some of these planets have. And I'm like, yeah, forget we're a planet too, so we have weird weather.
Yeah, 100%. Just don't go to the weather on Venus. I hear it's pretty hot there.
Yes, exactly. And that's why all the women live there. But anyways, welcome to Detecting Intelligence, folks. This is a daily show co-hosted by Frank Zuring and myself. We're here to bring you the latest and most interesting things that it's happening in the AI tech space, and all that jazz. And without talking too much crap, should we just get into the first story?
Let's get right into it, man.
Let's get right into it. All right, here we go. Anthropic sues Pentagon. It seems that Anthropic didn't take too kindly to the U.S. government labeling them as, I believe, a supply chain risk. And I think this is this lawsuit has merit. Because I assume that this is they're probably coming at this as a defamatory standpoint, and I don't know if Anthropic lost any customers, but it's definitely not a good look to be labeled as a supply chain risk, no matter how you look at it or for whatever reason, because it's a major stain. So for all I know, it could have either helped or harmed Anthropic. But they're slapping them with a lawsuit. What are your thoughts on this, Frank?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a pushback for sure. Again, as we were talking originally on the show about, picking your battles, I get it from Anthropic's standpoint where you don't want to be looked at as a threat probably to other government agencies to use your product, but going up against the government is never an easy battle. So, kudos to them, I guess, for that regard. But I did see Microsoft as well, too, was, I wouldn't say siding with Anthropic, but have said that they're going to continue to use Anthropic because they noticed the value that it's bringing their business clients. So, I don't know. It's interesting. It seems like just a little bit of like a little spat here that's happening, but I don't know if it's going to really amount to anything.
Yeah, and remember, all this stemmed from, if you watched our show the other day, Anthropic really just had two stipulations for the U.S. government telling it couldn't use it to what it says right here. It couldn't use it. So let me read this real quick. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei picked a major fight with the Department of Defense, a.k.a. the Department of War, last month, asserting that his company's AI models couldn't be used for mass surveillance of Americans or direct autonomous weapon systems. If we've seen some of the videos out of China, China doesn't seem to be adhering to those two stipulations. Not that they should be, but I've just seen a couple of videos out of China. I haven't verified them to be true, but it looks like China's already amassing humanoid robots with weapons. And not even humanoid, also, you know, the dog-looking ones also. Didn't verify to be true or not, but even if it was just AI generated, that's what's coming anyway.
Yeah.
So just with that said, you know, and these to me, of course, for, you know, as far as my agenda is concerned, like they don't seem like these two things that they needed to adhere by didn't seem that far-fetched. But of course, the Department of War has other things in mind as far as what they want to do with this technology. Yeah, I mean, I mean, look at what that says, that the U.S. government was like, no, we want to be able to use your code however we want to use it. And so again, good for Anthropic for standing their ground, and we'll see what comes out of this lawsuit here. But I'm not too hopeful. I don't know what their end game is with this, or what they're looking to seek out of it, or if they're looking for an apology. It probably says it in the article. We probably should read it, but you know, who has the time? We'll see how this plays out.
Definitely feels like we're at the start of Terminator 2.
Yeah. Right.
It's just wild. I find, like, and it scares the crap out of me, you know, to think that we might have these like autonomous robots walking around with weapons. Yeah.
Maybe, potentially.
You ever see the Matrix animated series?
I've seen clips of it. I have not. I don't believe I've ever watched it from start to finish. I heard it was good. Is it? Did you find? I don't know. I don't remember if I heard mixed reviews about it.
It was more just like there was a pre-story to how the Matrix got started, and it talks about these humanoid robots coming in and acting as our helpers, and then, you know, they want rights essentially, and they aren't granted rights, and it spirals into them trying to attack humans, and then the humans using nuclear devices to block out the sun because they're all dependent on solar power. And then that's when they tap into humans for power and we get the Matrix. So I don't know. It's wild, man. It's like some of these stories that we've enjoyed over the years in the sci-fi realm seem like we're getting very close to reality.
You know, and that's how I've lately felt the same way about all of the UFO/UAP stuff that's been coming out in the last like 12 months or so. You know, I've been an enthusiast, obsessed with aliens for as long as I could remember. And I think part of the fun was that I never thought in my lifetime that I would get a definitive answer as to whether or not they were real, even though like I lean towards yes. I mean, how could they not be real? The universe is so vast, and it'd be arrogant to think that we're the only sentient beings in this whole thing. And just lately in the last 12 months, there's been this real push, real big, or not push, but it's just so many things coming out, and former Air Force pilots, Navy pilots coming out and saying that they see these things every day nearly. And it's been making me pretty uncomfortable. It's like, wow, okay, like I thought it was fun to believe, or, you know, fun to speculate, but now it's like, oh, like not only are these things potentially might be real as heck, but they might have been living in the ocean the whole time, and just operating with zero F's to give. Anyway, so I've had similar feelings about UFOs and aliens. It's like, oh, I'm not sure I want these things to be real anymore, because if in fact they do have this technology that we've been seeing online with all these videos of spacecrafts moving about the way that they do, what are we here for? It's
interesting, man. Like, I hear you on that. And did you ever see the Disclosure Day documentary?
The Disclosure Day? No, which one is that?
So it just came out not too long ago, and it's by the main whistleblower there of the Tic Tac videos. This is
different from Age of Disclosure.
Oh no, sorry, it is Age of Disclosure. I'm thinking Disclosure Day is the new film that's coming out. Yeah,
that was on my calendar.
It's wild, right? Like it's crazy, as you said, to hear all of these like Air Force generals and major 5-star generals talking about their existence. I know even recently Obama went on and said that they are real, but then retracted, what he was implying. But it's interesting when we look at, like, talking about where we're at today with robotics and AI and potentially aliens. I know quite a few people have said, like, if there are beings that are visiting us, it's likely that they are also potentially robots, because like organisms have very difficult time surviving in outer space with everything that's going on. So
Here goes the whole show on aliens, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, which then, maybe that's why they have interest in what's going on here, because I also I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan, I will say. And I know you've got your thoughts on him.
There's two things I don't like about you, Frank. One, you like Joe Rogan, and the other one, you like Elon Musk. Those are the two things I don't like about you.
Yeah, but that's what makes it interesting when we have conversations. And I am an Elon Musk fan. I will say I am a fan. But there was one show that he was talking about with Bob Lazar on there, as well as this Jeremy Corgan, I believe his name was. Not Jeremy Corgan, that's
Corbell.
Corbell, thank you. And they were talking about how through their communications, they've heard that people that have supposedly interacted with these beings have said that we are containers for souls. And that's what's interesting for us. And that, they are looking for these containers, which I thought was kind of a very interesting, if anything, just a story. It's still an interesting story.
One theory that came that came across me and that I found very interesting, and it kind of, like, I was taken aback by it, and it was the possibility that someone suggested that we might have an ancient agreement with these beings that are not, I don't want to go too far, but not necessarily our ancestors or whatever, but or Neanderthal or caveman ancestors, not that far back, but that there are humans from hundreds of years ago or whatever that potentially formed an agreement with these other intelligent beings. What that agreement is, I have no idea, but some possible agreement that lets them operate the way that they do on the planet. Again, they were probably here first, and we're just treading on their land. But they decided to leave us be for whatever reason. I was like, let them blow themselves up. That, if anything gets too serious, then we'll step in and do what we have to do. Which is, we've heard reports of UFOs like over nuclear sites, and turning things on or activating them, and the people manning these sites lose. We're going too far into this topic.
I mean, but you know what? It's a super relevant topic. I feel like it's very connected to everything that's happening right now. And
sure.
If these
because
events,
who's to say we didn't get this technology from them? Like silicone chips and all this stuff. I was like, how did we used to be animals that couldn't start a fire or didn't know how to start a fire until we figured it out, and now we're potentially an interplanetary species. How does that happen?
I mean, it is wild to think the advancements. Imagine somebody that was born in the early 1900s and kind of saw all the changes that they saw in the 1900s. It's just wild.
It's wild stuff. Wild stuff. All right. I don't know how we get down here. Next story. Let's bring it up.
Looking forward to the new Spielberg movie, though, coming out this summer.
Really hopefully it's really good. Dying to see that. To see that. It looks really good. What is it called again? Disclosure?
Disclosure Day. That's what I was getting mixed up with. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's... wow, can't wait for that. All right, next story. Thank you, Futurism, for this one. Study finds that execs are already outsourcing their thinking to AI. Subtext: how ironic. This has been some discussion for a little while now, and especially from people that are running large companies. That there's speculation that eventually AI could do their job. For a fraction of the cost that they're paying these CEO salaries, and God knows that CEOs are being paid a heck of a lot, so this is pretty interesting to see, and it totally makes sense. But what now? I wonder, and I'm curious as to what kind of an impact this is going to be in years to come for CEOs that are running large companies. So do we need them anymore, or do they need to be paid as much as they're being paid? and I would only probably broach that subject if there is a huge gap between what a CEO is being paid versus what the employees are making. If we're, if there's a balance, then I'm okay with leaving those CEOs alone. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
So I already know a lot of executives that are conversing with AI on a regular basis for brainstorming, business ideas, management, like you name it. Every topic is being discussed right now. The only thing that I've seen and have some concerns over is that AI can be very convincing in what it's telling you and be completely wrong. There's a couple of different types of hallucinations. There's a hallucination, which is just something completely out of left field in regards to what you're talking about and not relevant to the conversation. And that, is looked at as a hallucination. But then there's also something that it's completely made up and it's very relevant and almost to a point where it's, has the potential to impact the person's ability to make a decision on something. And without fact checking it, you could very quickly come to realize or come to believe, I should say, that, you've got this amazing opportunity or trade secret. And I think a lot of executives I know have kind of fallen into that trap. And we've heard on the news, some extreme cases of people like unlocking a new source of energy and being like, oh, I'm like the first one to think of this concept and I've put it all together. And that I think is one of the most dangerous things here, in my opinion. So, I mean, the tools are powerful, definitely should be used for strategizing. It can actually be quite useful for coming up with new concepts and, helping the creative process, but you gotta be fact checking it across multiple models. So much so that I would, encourage you to start with the one model that you enjoy. So in my case, that would be Claude Opus 4.6, converse with that. And then as it spits out, here's essentially the concept or whatever, we're talking about, the information it shares with me that is its opinion. I would then copy that into another LLM and ask the LLM through a prompt to, scrutinize and overanalyze this information for accuracy and see what it comes back with, because I think that's the only way you can be sure that what you're sharing is reality. And I've seen it even in content creation, right? Like there's some individual, well, I would say pretty much every individual is producing at least a content outline these days using AI. And if you're not, if you're in a sensitive environment, like let's say healthcare, and you're not fact checking that in other models, then you're potentially putting yourself at risk, because you could be sharing information that is completely inaccurate and shows when the community looks at the content you've shared and assesses the accuracy. So yeah, that's the only thing. I mean, it's great. Executives, I think should use this a lot, but just hopefully they're fact checking the information they're getting.
Yeah. And also, to add to that, because there's just all this talk about, what AI is going to do to, white collar, blue collar workers, and also especially what it's doing currently to white collar workers. But you don't hear a whole lot about what this technology means for, the people at the heads of these companies.
Yeah.
And I think we need to kind of dive into that a little bit more. Just not, I don't mean just you and I, but just collectively, it's just. We have to look at what this means, and especially if you're a person that wants to start a company, it's I don't know. I mean, are we going to have now companies that are maybe that don't have a CEO, and it's just maybe some sort of hybrid system at the top, and it's the person running it along with their AI, that's some sort of hybrid situation.
I mean, I think so. At the end of the day, here's my thought: is that you should be compensated based off of the amount of risk personally you have invested in a company. So as a CEO, you're essentially responsible for every decision. Every decision rolls down to you that's made in that company. And that should be worth a certain amount of income, in my opinion. And if you're starting a company, which is able to generate revenue, which is a hard thing to do. A lot of people forget like just how difficult it actually is to produce a company that is positive revenue. I'm in favor of, people being properly compensated. Now I can
Right.
appreciate, there's some situations which there's a very large gap between the entry-level employee and the CEO. And I think each one has to be kind of assessed uniquely, because there are certainly going to be, executives that are being compensated that were essentially just received a golden handshake into the position that they received. And it's got a nice bonus tied to it and very little effort required on their part. But I don't think that is the norm. I think that's more the ones we hear about because they're so ludicrous. So.
Okay, and hopefully that's the case. And I just want to read this blurb real quick. So a recent study conducted by market research agency 3GEM and flagged by the Register found that the business leaders in the UK seem to be outsourcing a huge amount of their cognitive and emotional labor to their AI chatbots. The emotional labor is the part that I wanted to bring up right now. I don't know what that means. What does that mean, emotional labor? Do you know? Have an idea?
Well, okay. So I, thinking about how I've used it, that could be connected with that.
Is this how to handle like an HR situation? Like, what does that mean?
Well, yeah. Okay. So for example, we're emotional creatures. So depending on our emotional state where we are, when we get an email or a text that has no context in regards to like how it's being sent emotionally, because we can't tell if they're yelling at us or if they are, critiquing us, or, there's many different ways you can interpret a message, especially through text. And that's where I've kind of really leaned into AI a lot, is to try to separate the emotion from the message that I'm actually receiving. And that if I feel like, is this message like trying to make me look bad? Then I put it into AI and like, what's your take on, the tone here? And it helps me kind of reframe some of the message. I feel like that's maybe what it's referring to, but I've found it quite helpful in that regards, because I lead with emotions a lot of the time. And I will say, depending on what's happening in my world, which I think it's the same for all of us, it's quite easy to do. They always say that people in power can control their emotions quite well. And, that's where you see like, people talking about like this stance is a stance of power, and pausing before you answer is a big thing. But we all have our breaks, and I think that's where AI helps, in my opinion.
I'm in favor of it, and especially, because I've been following Gary Vaynerchuk for a really long time. I was introduced to him by Kevin Rose. And something that Gary has talked a lot about is, he didn't realize it for a long time, but he had an issue with candor. And I don't even know candor. I mean, I don't even know what the definition of it is, but I kind of just inherently feel what it means. But essentially, I guess it's just, why am I guessing? Why am I guessing? Let's get the definition of candor real quick. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is just candor is just kind of like it's essentially the lack of being able to be honest or real with the people that you're around or working with. Use the definition of candor. Candor, the quality of being open, honest, and sincere in speech or expression. Frankness, no pun intended. But so Gary, for most of his career, had an issue with that, and he would talk about examples like he had an employee that wasn't really doing his job really well, but every time Gary encountered this person, it was like all sunshine and rainbows, and then and then at the end of the week he has to fire that person and tell them why, and then the person is taken aback, like, wait a second, I thought we were cool. So in situations like those, maybe AI could have helped Gary in his career back then and helping him with those kinds of situations. So for things like that, I'm definitely for. If it's going to, help you establish or build better relationships with your, with your peer, your coworkers and your employees, then I definitely see a lot of positive in that, as long as you're getting the right advice.
I think we're headed into an interesting time for AI to be involved at that level, because One thing I hear a lot from my business clients who are, Gen X essentially, is that not millennials so much, but Gen Z especially. They say that like they don't want to interact with people in person or on the phone. It gives them anxiety is the exact term that they've used, and that they only will interact through text and email, which is wild to think. But it seems to be a common problem for executives these days. Is that generation has a real hard time with communicating in person, and there's like an awkwardness that they feel and this anxiety that they get from that situation, which normally I think we all have our anxieties. Like I know even still at a networking event, if I'm going in by myself and I have to try to meet up with somebody, you still get a little bit of anxiety, but you just push through it, right?
I'm such an introvert dude. I try to go to events and stuff like that, and sometimes I'll go by myself, but I cannot bring myself to start a conversation with somebody, and it's really been, and it's unfortunate because there are so many things, positive things that can happen to you or to anyone else just by, and of course bad things can happen too. But there's a lot of good things that can happen, opportunities that you didn't know that were there, or serendipitous situations, and I just hate to think of all the just the opportunities that I've lost. If I had just spoken to this person, you can do that forever, but it's just like when I'm at specific events, like just networking opportunities, and had I just spoken to that person, you never know, you could have landed the position, or they could have worked with you or for you, and it's unfortunate that it's that this the current new crop of humans are this way, but it's because you and I are the old crop, and so soon they're gonna think it's wild that we interacted with each other so much, and that's just it's just the nature of the beast, and the cycle of or it's not cycle, but this this plane of existence that we're on. Things are cool and fun and normal for a bit, and now they're weird, and now this new thing of this new way of doing something is feels awkward and wild, but then that becomes the norm. So it's nothing new. We've done it over and over and over again, and it's just what we're witnessing right now.
But I think there's a couple of things to kind of side a little bit with Gen Z, which I can appreciate where they're coming from. They went through the pandemic during some formative years, right, for this generation. And I know even my kids being Gen Zers, what type of impact that had on their social growth, especially my youngest. And she still struggles to this day with, she doesn't like one-on-ones with people. She likes having two friends over at a time because she feels like there's an opportunity for a pause there. Yeah. But she doesn't have to be always on and talking to one person.
Yeah. It's exhausting.
But
if you're not naturally like that, it's exhausting. And it's exhausting for me.
Yeah, totally, dude. Right. So I don't think technology has helped that though. I think technology has probably made that a little worse, because now it's a lot easier to just, be a recluse, as they say, and just in your little box and only seeing the information you want and only communicating when you want because you don't have to. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
I'm going to say this out loud, even though this could be a multi-million-dollar opportunity here, but maybe technology could help coach the current generation into how, I don't want to say more personable, but maybe just have less anxiety when you are interacting with other humans.
I mean, there's some basics, right? There's that classic book, the How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I think there's a lot of good topics in there. There's also another book just called Influence, which I found really interesting, because when you look at communication and behaviors, a lot of this stuff is just like programs, right? You can see how it's we all have our own algorithm, but we all have some similarities across the algorithm. And one thing I still use to this day is when you're trying to get somebody's attention, you use their name, and their name is always going to be the most attractive word that you can use in a conversation. So even as we're talking and I say, Ronnie, what do you think about this? Right? It's going to get your attention immediately. So it's just those little funny things that you find in communication.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, it's just interesting. I don't come across Gen Zers too often, but when I do, it's yeah, I notice I'm like, oh, okay, these people are some of them, not everybody, but I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
there's some sort of there are some people skills
Yeah.
lacking here, and and through no fault of their own, really. Of
Nope.
course not. It's just this is the world that they were brought into and are growing up in
Yeah.
and exposed to, and they're just adapting to
Did you
what
say
they're being dealt with.
dabbing? Is that what you said?
Yes, dabbing.
They're just-
Yeah, they're a dabbing. Wow, that was it feels like a blast from a past, but that was only a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah.
It feels so long ago, but yeah, when you're in the AI space, it's you lose sense of time.
It is interesting, and I think you're right. I think there's definitely maybe a technology solution here to help people. It's something I think we should try to figure out sooner than later, because AI is only going to make this harder, I believe.
We have it already. If there are people or coaches that can teach you how to be a better parent, a better husband, mother, a better lover, a better kisser, whatever the hell, anything. Like if we, so we can teach people how to be better. Again, not better people, but we could just teach people how to just handle, in real life situations better.
Yeah,
that's all.
I think empathy is where a lot of it starts. You have to have empathy. That's kind of like a core of a lot of just being able to converse with people and actually be genuinely interested in other people. What's that?
Do you think you can? Is it possible to teach empathy?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so.
No, really. Okay.
No, I think it's something that you kind of grow up with. You could probably learn it over a long period of time, but
I think you
have
to learn
it.
I think you can learn it, but it might take, for some people, they might have to have some sort of personal experience.
Yeah.
And it might, and unfortunately, it might have to be. I don't want to say. Hopefully, it doesn't have to be a traumatic one, but it has to be enough of an experience to kind of like change your perspective.
Yep. And it comes with age too. I think, having a longer view.
I mean, I've always felt like I've been empathetic my whole life, but anyway, it could be something you're born with, and it could also be something that you can learn.
Yeah, well, there's lots of narcissists out there too that we know, right? So,
is that a jab at me?
No, not at all. No, I don't think you are one by any means, but right. I do have a few that I know in my circle, and you can always tell because when you ask them questions about what's going on with them, they're always very want to talk forever, and then as soon as you're hoping to be asked the same question, it never comes because they just generally don't give a shit about you. So, but
well, anywho, so we have a couple of viewers. Not sure if you guys are real or not, but we appreciate the 4 of you that are here from wherever you're watching from. Again, if you're humans, but to test that theory, if you don't mind and are able to, just comment on what we're talking about here. Throw in a question, and we'll try and respond to it if we can. Because we, Frank and I are. Oh, wait. Something came in. Oh, never mind. It looks like that's a bot. Okay. Anyway,
someone's identified themselves.
Okay, I don't. Yeah, this is. I don't know what that is. All right, something did just come up.
Showgirl NE. Oh, we appreciate you showing up anyway.
Yeah, that was funny. All right, well, thanks. Wherever you are, or whatever you are. Anywho, all right. We're running short on time here. Do we want to do one more real quick?
Yeah, let's do one more real quick.
One more real quick, and I think it'll be real quick anyway. All right. The Supreme Court just dealt a crushing blow to AI artists. So here's a quick summary. The U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear a case about copyright protection for AI-generated artwork, effectively upholding previous rulings that works created entirely by AI cannot be copyrighted because copyright law requires a human author. I'm okay with that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. Yeah.
I think what this should mean as well, in my opinion, is that now we're free to use AI to make new series of TV shows we enjoy, or use copyrighted content to produce new content, because if we can't copyright it, then who cares? If it's just going to help boast the ones that do own the copyright.
Right. So here are a couple of key implications, thanks to ChatGPT Atlas here on the side of my browser. AI-generated works without human involvement are not eligible for copyright in the US. The ruling strengthens the legal interpretation that copyright applies only to human creators. That's good. The decision arrives amid ongoing lawsuits against AI companies accused of training models on copyrighted materials. And lastly, some AI users have argued that prompts or AI outputs should be protected, but this ruling reinforces current limits on those claims. So look, I don't think this is going to be the final judgment on this. I think there's going to be some massaging that's going to be that needs to happen here, especially with all these innovations that are happening on the daily, and more people that are going to be creating things, like music and art and videos and pictures and the things that we haven't even created yet that are going to be starting to be created soon with this technology. So yeah, this is not going to be the final say in this for sure. But so far, I think it's being handled ethically, I believe.
I just wonder, like, how is it going to work if, like, let's say you create a piece of art with AI and then you file a copyright, but you say, no, I created it. Yeah. How are they going to prove that it wasn't created by you?
Yeah. And this is where, this is where we're going to have to start talking about verification systems, metadata.
I mean, it gets to be that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what was the last time I heard that? The future is female. The future is ownership. This is ownership is going to be in this new era that we're in. I think ownership is going to be absolutely crucial. It's one of the reasons why in the 2019, 20, 21 years, or 22, where NFTs were exploding, because everybody was all about the ownership and royalties and all that stuff. That has since died down, but the technology is still there and very, very important and crucial. Again, for this era that we're upon and that we're entering. I think ownership of ourselves, of our data, the stuff that we create, is going to be everything.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we're in a very interesting moment in time. Maybe that's why aliens are visiting us right now.
I think, yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. I was gonna say, like, maybe there's more. I don't think there's necessarily more alien activity. It's just. I was going to say, because people think that there tends to be more alien activity, and there could be, but I just wonder if it has anything to do with us just being more closer to self-annihilation and be like, hey, you guys are ruining our home here. Cut it out, maybe. Anyway, just funny thought there real quick. Did you hear that honk horn just now?
Did I hear what, sorry?
Did you hear a honk horning right now?
No, I did not.
Okay, great. All right, cool. I'm in New York City, folks. There's a lot of New York City background noise. But anywho, Frank,
I think that's
a show. Yeah, Frank, did we miss anything that you wanted to talk about? Did you want to leave the folks with any wise words from Canada or anything like that?
No, I think this was a good show. Love the range of topics today that we covered, and still lots of things in the coffer, as they say. So stay tuned. Join us tomorrow, and we'll share some more updates on where we're headed with things.
That's right, folks. Yep, we'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. like we always are, Monday through Friday. We are going to take a week off next week because Frank is going on vacation, but that's good. It'll just give us a little bit more time to polish things up. Yep. And you might be watching this right now, either live or on YouTube or wherever. But we haven't officially gone public or live or anything about this yet. So you're just this is all just warm ups for Frank and I.
Yeah, totally.
We have guests planned. We have guests planned to join us. And a bunch of other things that we don't want to mention just yet, but lots of fun stuff planned for you guys. I guess we'll leave it there, right?
Sounds great. Bye for now.
Bye.
Today's evidence is logged. The timeline has been updated, and the future remains under investigation. If you found this useful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next analysis. You can also drop your questions in the comments. We read them, we use them, we investigate them. And for deeper dives, join the newsletter at detectingintelligence.com. Thanks for watching. See you next time, friend.